It was March 31st, 1970, a day that started like any other. Japan Airlines Flight 351, a Boeing 727, was being prepped for what was supposed to be a routine flight. The aircraft was set to carry 122 souls from Tokyo to Fukuoka, a journey that many had taken countless times before. Little did they know, terror awaited them just beyond the horizon. Among the passengers were 9 members of the Japanese Red Army faction, armed and dangerous, who had sinister plans. Their motives: to shake the very foundations of Japan and make a statement that would be heard around the world. As the plane soared into the sky, the world below became oblivious to the drama that was about to unfold above. Passengers settled into their routines, reading newspapers, chatting and relaxing. Then, without warning, chaos erupted. The hijackers stormed the aisles, brandishing samurai swords and a homemade pipe bomb. Passengers screamed in terror. The crew froze in shock. This was no ordinary flight. This was a hijacking that would go down in history. The Japanese Red Army faction, a radical leftist group fueled by anger and ideology, they sought to overthrow the Japanese government. They dreamed of a communist utopia. Their methods, violence and terror, they saw themselves as revolutionaries. The world saw them as criminals. These were not seasoned criminals. They were students, radicalized by the turbulent politics of the late 1960s. Their leader, Takamaro Tamiya, was just 27. He commanded his group with an iron fist. They were prepared to die for their cause, and to take innocent lives with them. The hijackers' demands were clear: release their imprisoned comrade, give them money, fly them to North Korea. The passengers became pawns in a deadly game. Fear hung heavy in the air. The hijackers barked orders. The passengers obeyed. Every minute felt like an eternity. The world watched in horror. News of the hijacking spread like wildfire. Negotiations began. The Japanese government scrambled for a solution. Every decision carried immense weight. One wrong move could lead to disaster. Section 4. Freedom's Promise in Fukuoka. After tense hours, the plane finally landed in Fukuoka, a city that would become a temporary haven for the passengers. A wave of relief swept through the cabin as the wheels touched down. The passengers, exhausted and anxious, felt a momentary sense of safety. But the ordeal wasn't over. The tension in the air was thick and uncertainty loomed large. This was just a pit stop, a brief pause in a harrowing journey. The hijackers demanded fuel and a new crew, their voices filled with menace. They threatened to blow up the plane if their demands weren't met. The tension was palpable. Negotiators worked tirelessly, and finally a breakthrough. The hijackers agreed to release some hostages, a small victory in a dire situation. Women and children were allowed to leave, their faces a mix of relief and fear. Tears of joy mixed with the fear etched on their faces as they reunited with loved ones. Each release brought a glimmer of hope. But the danger remained, and the fate of those still on board hung in the balance. Section 5. A clever ruse, Seoul, not Pyongyang. The plane took off again, this time with a new crew and a reduced number of hostages. The tension in the air was palpable as everyone braced for what was to come. The destination, Pyongyang, North Korea, a place shrouded in mystery and fear, or so the hijackers thought. They believed they were in control, but they were about to be outwitted. In a daring move, the pilot, Kenzo Okamoto, had other plans. He was calm and collected, ready to execute his strategy. He had a trick up his sleeve, a plan that could change the course of their fate. Okamoto knew he couldn't fly to North Korea. It would be suicide. The risks were too high and the consequences too dire, so he devised a plan that required precision and nerves of steel. He would pretend to fly to Pyongyang. Every move had to be convincing, but he would actually land in Seoul, South Korea, a safe haven compared to the perilous north. It was a risky gamble. The stakes were incredibly high. One wrong move could spell disaster, but Okamoto was determined to see his plan through, no matter the cost. Section 6. The Long Shadow of JL351. The plane landed in Seoul. The hijackers were confused. They had been tricked. They were surrounded. After tense negotiations, they surrendered. The remaining hostages were freed. The ordeal was finally over. The hijacking of JL351 sent shockwaves through Japan. It exposed the vulnerabilities of its aviation security. It led to sweeping reforms. It also highlighted the dangers of radical ideologies. The hijackers were eventually granted asylum in North Korea. Their fate remains a mystery to this day.